And we are rolling. What is going on, you guys? Miss the part here. What if Wanda had helped Peter Parker in Spider-Man No Way Home? But before we get into it, I'm going to be giving a community shout out. So shout out number 3, Darth Prime. Darth Prime has been in the comments, always commenting different what if ideas, awesome ideas. Make sure you go check out his channel. We're going to be giving shout outs out. Also, I do want to say, if you guys also want to see me live stream on Instagram, maybe me playing some pinball, do make sure to let me know in the comments down below. Enjoy the video.
So you like make your own web fluid in your body? I'd rather not talk about this.
There are several parallel universes, each separated by a certain occurrence in the mainstream of time. These universes come together to form the multiverse, each unique for its own specific event. In the end, it is only I, the Watcher, who oversees the happenings of all these worlds, but I must not intervene, for the principles of my existence frowns upon such. In one world, there existed a certain name, a kid named Peter Parker. The young man had spent a great deal of his life being a vigilante, famously known as Spider-Man. Indeed, the burden of saving a populated world proves difficult for one child to bear. This became very evident when Peter was outed as the Spider-Man by the villain known as Mysterio. To fix the mistake he had caused, Peter had met with the former Sorcerer Supreme to erase the recent happenings and grant him the peaceful life he had wanted. This, however, fractured the multiverse itself. Nevertheless, this is not the story of today. For this story takes a different format, exploring a world where Peter met another to help him undo his evident damage, a woman whose magic only darkened her soul.
I'm not a monster.
Peter sat in his house, biting his lip as he looked out of the window. He could not believe that he had been outed as Spider-Man. He could not believe that he was an infamous superhero now. Of course, his past deeds of heroism had brought him into the spotlight. However, a certain villain named Mysterio had ensured the opposite happened when he framed Peter for his death. He had previously gone to meet Ned and MJ, hoping they had gotten acceptance letters into their colleges. However, just like him, they had been rejected. It was evident that this rejection was a result of their affiliations with Spider-Man. Peter knew that he needed to change everything. He would be able to endure everything that happened to him, but he would not be able to endure the pain and the circumstances inflicted on his friends. Now it was time to meet a friend. On spotting Strange cleaning up the snow-filled tower with Wong, Peter instantly hoped that his prayers were now answered. He smiled as he approached the former Sorcerer Supreme, requesting a favor from him. Of course, this favor was a huge one. Strange had to cast a forbidden spell, erasing the memories who knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man. It was a spell that even Wong advised against. It was a surprising turn of events. Strange looked into Peter's eyes and told him that he would be unable to cast the spell, as he now respected the laws of nature and balance. Peter would have to find another way to salvage his current predicament. A frustrated Peter walked out of the tower, cursing beneath his breath. Wanda sat on her chair, eyes buried into the deepness of the Darkhold. She could feel her magic expanding as red expressions of energy shadowed the entire room. She knew what she needed, the power of the multiverse. With the power, she would find a world her children were alive in and be with them. But she could not find the power she sought, a situation which frustrated her even more as her mind wandered in the deep trenches of the Darkhold. She began to sense feelings of frustration digging deeper. She realized that she had felt these feelings before, coming from a certain young man and she had once befriended, a man who had fought against her when she assisted Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes. She would have to find Peter Parker, and she would have to render assistance to him. Peter sat on his couch, hoping his door was locked properly. He would not have another person coming to see him to comfort him. Aunt May had done her very best, but she could see that it was not working. Nothing could change the truth. Peter had ruined the lives of his friends. If only Peter knew, he would ruin the lives of several others. A knock on the door, and May opened it. Surprised to see it was a red-haired woman stepping into the building. She had a wonderful smile and some gorgeous eyes. She also had a cake in her hand. May knew she had seen this woman before. Then it hit her. "You are the woman who blew up that building in Lagos, right?" May asked. Wanda smiled, ensuring she kept her magic in check. If she wanted to win Peter's trust, she would have to play nice. Wanda responded positively, saying that she had assisted Peter in the fight against Thanos. She added that she had seen on the news and wanted to make sure if Peter was alright. May smiled and pointed her hands to Peter's room. But May felt that something was amiss. She could not place it. The human heart is as weak as it is confused in some circumstances. Peter was surprised to see his door opened, and Wanda stepped in, smiling as she approached him. He jerked up from his bed, embarrassed as he only had his underwear on. With a flicker of her fingers, Peter found himself fully dressed. Wanda immediately asked him how he was feeling, as she had heard the news. A frustrated Peter went ahead to spell out the recent events, allowing his mind to be opened to Wanda. She could see the fear and guilt he had in his heart. He was susceptible enough for her. Before Peter could realize he had talked too much, he had noted that the fact that he had gone to obtain assistance from Doctor Strange, which Wanda chuckled to Peter. Peter seemed surprised to see that Wanda possessed no harbor of anger at his last concluded act. Then it hit him. He could ask her for assistance, as she was a sorcerer too, sort of, if only he knew that she was counting on his desperation. Of course, Wanda tried to play the safe witch, noting that performing such a spell would be too dangerous, and she did not want her powers to get out of hand. Peter responded by telling her there was no need for her to worry, ensuring he included every possible expectation he needed to do. All Wanda needed was the spell to perform, and he had to get it for her. Peter knew he would have to steal it from Strange. Peter arrived at the Sanctum Sanctorum, pleased that Strange was nowhere in sight. He hoped that he would be able to access the library he had spotted earlier on and get that spell for Wanda. As he moved, he was quietly surprised to bump into Wong. He asked, "What are you doing here?" Stuttering, Peter said that he came to apologize to Strange for his earlier actions, and that he really needed a friend to talk to. Something about how he said this made Wong smile, and Wong moved to get them a drink so that they would talk. Of course, Peter used the moment to access the library. When Wanda inquired why Peter returned so late, he appealed that they shouldn't talk about it, which seemed fine by her. Peter handed over the pages to her, which was engraved in a rather old piece of paper. Wanda collected the spell, smiling to herself as she prepared to perform her magic. "Are you ready for this?" Wanda inquired of Peter. A hint of concern showed instantly in her eyes. Peter noted he would do anything to help MJ and Ned. Wanda smiled and began to cast the spell. Fortunately, Peter was no sorcerer. He would not know the changes she had made to the spell, and she just made enough changes to shatter the very fabric of space and time. Strange sat in his chamber, closing his eyes while he let his mind wander. He was engaged in a meditation exercise that the Ancient One had once taught him before she passed away. Suddenly, he felt chills go up his spine as he opened his eyes in shock. At that moment, he knew something was wrong somewhere. The first name popped into his head as he heaved a frustrating sigh. "Peter, what have you done?" he said in his head. Ned and MJ could not believe their ears as Peter narrated everything to them, including how Wanda had successfully made everyone in the entire universe forget he was Spider-Man, except the expectations he had mentioned to her. Ned made a comment about getting married to this Wanda eventually, and Peter replied that she was not his type. As Peter turned to MJ, he could not help but notice that MJ was definitely uncomfortable with the situation. "Are you okay?" he asked her, hoping she was indeed alright. MJ noted that while she was glad at the extent of the sacrifice he made, she would have preferred he had met with the colleague administrators. Peter stopped her mid-sentence and promised that everything would be alright now, that everyone had forgotten about the events with Mysterio. However, MJ was not finished. Apparently, she had already contacted the college, and after a few favors, the administrator agreed to put them on the consideration list. Shocked at MJ's lack of trust in him, Peter looked at Ned and realized Ned was fully aware of MJ's plans. Hurt by his friends, he stepped out of the restaurant, only to be knocked down by a large tentacle. Before Peter could recover from his brutal attack, the tentacle came again, striking him down with force. Then the tentacle grabbed him and lifted him up, apparently applying a lot of force, crushing his bones. Only then did Peter have a good look at his attacker. This was a man who had a lot of machines attached to his body. He seemed dangerous. Moreover, he seemed ready to kill Parker. The surrounding civilians had already fled with MJ and Ned, taking a hiding position. As the tentacled man prepared to strike again, a piece of metal flung towards his neck. The metal had made contact with that soft spot, causing the being to fall crashing down. Ned and MJ looked in shock as the famous Wanda Maximoff came out of a corner and carried Peter's unconscious body away. Strange could not hide his surprise when his attempt to teleport the madman who had attacked the restaurant ended up bringing two high school kids to him. They had clung to the already deceased man, appearing in the sanctum with him. Strange listened in shock as he heard everything. The kids said that if Wanda had taken Peter, then there was something very wrong. Truly, he intended to send these beings back to their dimensions, but right now, he had a priority. He had to bring Peter home. But as he thought about Wanda, he knew that he couldn't be too careful. With the kind of magic she possessed, he was going to have to bring backup. He closed his eyes and began to chant. Wanda smiled as she let her magic flow out of her system. With the multiverse now broken, thanks to the spell that Peter had given her, she could manipulate this to get what she wanted. But inside she knew she would need another source of power. And she would do everything possible to find that power and use it to her advantage. For now, she celebrated as the broken multiverse only made it much easier. Then, she began to sense a strange presence in her room. She lifted up herself as preparing herself for battle. The former Sorcerer Supreme came to have a little chat. Seeing her fighting stance, Strange assured Wanda that he was just here to talk. Wanda laughed as she knew that their conversation would most likely end in a more than just a talk. When Strange asked her why she casted the spell for Peter, she said that she did it for a personal reason and he would not understand, being too busy protecting the balance of the universe. Strange assured her that whatever was the issue, they could fix it together. However, what did she gain in casting the spell and abducting Parker? Wanda chuckled and noted that she had met Dr. Octopus few minutes after he appeared in their world. Using her magic, she spelled him to attack Peter, ensuring Peter was weakened enough, of course. Peter would think she tried to save him, and after the amount of anger just read from her mind, it made the spell that she could cast a lot easier. Strange was shocked to see a red-eyed Peter step out of the shadows. He looked vile and ready to kill. At that moment, Strange placed himself in a fighting stance, To Wanda's shock, she saw 2 new Spider-Men drop beside Strange. Strange snorted, noting that Wanda was not the only one who could ignore the rules of space-time to suit her agenda. Wanda snapped her fingers, forcing Peter to attack his fellow counterparts. Peter 2 and Peter 3 shot webs at Parker, occasionally hoping to circle him eventually and put him down. However, Peter seemed like he was stronger and faster than the 2 of them combined. Of course, he had been boosted by Wanda's dark magic. Strange, on the other hand, battled Wanda, and they fought viciously, until Wanda used her magic to pin him to the floor. Wanda turned to see that Peter 2 and Peter 3 were having a hard time with her minion. With a smile, she waved her hands and pinned the 2 Spider-Men to the floor as well. She smiled to Peter, and he smiled back, his red eyes still glowing. As Strange laid on the floor, he casted one more spell. There was a pin drop of silence. Aunt May's voice echoed in the chamber, mentioning that Peter had more than enough goodness to fight off Wanda's spell. He was a hero, no matter what the world tried to think of him, and it was time he started acting like one. He had a responsibility that he had to fulfill, and he had to save his friends. Peter's eyes got wet as a teardrop fell. Aunt May had always known the right things to say. Wanda was mad as she turned to Peter. She was shocked when the young man shot a web flying towards her. In response, she used her magic to fling him across the room. Peter landed on a sharp piece of metal, crying out loud in the process. Wanda yelled in frustration, with Peter injured. The spell that shattered the multiverse would be broken. She quickly used her magic to fly anyways. Strange got up from the floor and rushed towards Peter. He looked up at Strange and apologized for everything. Indeed, he should have trusted his friends more. MJ kneeled beside Peter's grave, her eyes showing no emotion. She had been like this for the past 2 hours, and she had no intentions of leaving. Strange stood beside her, and she held her breath. She was going to avenge Peter's death. She would join Strange and search for the Scarlet Witch. That is going to be it for What If Wanda had helped Peter Parker instead of Doctor Strange? What if Wanda was the one to actually do the spell instead of Doctor Strange and actually turn Peter Parker? What if she ended up killing Parker by accident? What did you guys think of this video? If you guys do like this kind of content and want to see more of this content, make sure you subscribe, because only 9% of you are subscribed on the channel. I can't say it enough. It goes a long way, so make sure to subscribe. Click that like button. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and have a fantastic day.